there have been a lot of consults and a lot of play with other people since we last talked.
Hmm.
I've reviewed the session a little bit, but not as thoroughly as I wish. You, on the other hand, I think have reviewed it fairly carefully. And I have one or two things I know I want to refer to in that session. But
Hmm.
what is your checklist that of the things that have excited or strike you as the most important things to move on for you?
Well, there are some things from our discussion in the comments that I think we should clear up.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I could talk about my process of converting modules. Uh, yeah, which has been a great deal of fun to realize what
Mm-hmm.
that process actually is and what I'm doing. And yeah, that's great fun.
Okay. Um, the things that I want to follow up on. I want to go to one of the phrases that we used, or the way I put it at the time was um, to express and evoke the actual things that these stories do. And when I say these stories, I mean the source material, the inspirational material. And I
Mhm.
know what context of play I want to examine that in. So that's my plan for today. So I'm going to add that. Um, so let's get to the the first of the things that you just said. Let's clear up things that struck you as confusing or strange or at least interesting in the comments from the post. So, how do you
Well,
see that as a question?
a neutral refereeing. Um, yes. I'm not sure how to approach this because I think you probably have a fairly good impression of what this entails. I suspect it's more a matter of phrasing, but not so sure.
Okay. Um, well, let us consider two things that are definitely not neutral, but that's not the problem. The problem is that they are bad. And
Hmm.
I'm not going to make excuses for saying they are bad. I don't think they are a style or a preference. I think they are anti play.
Hmm.
So, what that is the one expression, one of these things that I am uh, criticizing is the idea that okay, I think this is going to be very easy. The idea that the game master, the referee, is basically a writer,
Hmm.
and either they are a very collaborative writer with the module designer or the game designer, so they have basically made themselves a junior executive for that writer. So
Hmm.
now they are going to deliver the story, you know, direct to you, right? They are the right. That is one thing. So they will wiggle whatever you do to get into the story you are supposed to be in, and they will save you from things so you can be in it, or do terrible things because that is going to be fun, right? That's the fun part that they have
Hmm.
ready for you. So that is one thing, and you can do that either, like I say, as a junior executive for some other writer, or you can be the primary one and make it up
Hmm.
yourself as you go along or just before play or whenever. But the point is that you are basically just you are in control. This is
Sure. Yeah.
transitive entertainment. They are the performer. We are the grateful audience. Okay. So this I think is what you are not wanting to do. When you say neutral referee, you're saying, okay, not that.
Yes.
Okay, we're good. We agree on that's excellent. Now I am moving into a next step, which is to say, okay, the functional referee that we are going to talk about, I don't think that's neutral either.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. So don't worry, we're not going back into that terrible land of not playing. But we are now in a situation where we have humans at the table, and referee is one of the things that one of the humans has to do. It's a job.
Mm-hmm.
But just like playing your character cannot certainly be seen as neutral, no one else is doing it after all. Neither is being the referee. But we are not talking about controlling and planning outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
We are doing something that is non-neutral, but we have got rid of the issue of controlling outcomes for the sake of God knows what. Right? We are now going to enjoy the uncertainties and their
Yes.
resolutions. Right? That's what we are here to enjoy. The referee too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So let's split this up even a little bit more. This has a lot to do with my class People and Play right now that I'm about to start teaching. So I am all about this business right now. So in this case, let's set aside three things that are not bad things, they have to be done. One is some of the people present are probably learning the game
Mm-hmm.
or could well be learning the game. So somebody has to be in something of a teaching mode. Right? So that is one, a function, something that this is an activity that, like playing an instrument, yes, it is, quote, natural and organic and wonderful and human, but it's still fucking work to learn. Okay. So, all right. So there's that. There's also the relationship to the text and how it relates to play. Let's say that in this case, the text is very inspiring and exciting, and people really want to do it like the text says. They don't have to, but
Mm-hmm.
let's say they do. Still, somebody has to be a little bit of the referee in this sense, right? Where they've got one hand on the book and they're going, wait, all right, okay, no, he goes next, not you, right? Trying to, it's part of the learning process too that everybody is doing, that somebody is taking charge of this. Okay, and then finally there's this social organizer. In the first place, the person who says, let's play this game. I have brought this game, let's play it. None of these
Mm-hmm.
people actually have to be, none of these people have to be the referee in play, like the game master referee. We
Mm-hmm.
say they do, we think they do. Logistically, they are often combined, but they really aren't the same thing. And that's very difficult to let go of if you have always treated those things all as one person.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But it's quite liberating to say, let's play this game, and somebody else says, great, I'll be the game master, and the person who has brought the game will be the rules referee, the one who looks shit up. It's incredibly liberating.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes, I
and I
can
mean,
see that.
after all, Bob at the table does it anyway and gets on everybody's nerves. Why not give him the job if he likes it so much? Right? So it's surprisingly effective. You suddenly realize that all of your issues of backstory creation and playing monsters and things like that isn't the same thing as being the person who is keeping an eye on every rule. Someone else will do that. You can benefit from that. So it's remarkably easy. So I want to say I understand that those things sometimes get folded into being that centralized authorities person or the person who has a lot of authorities for backstory and things. Makes them out, if at the very least, right? Um, but they don't have to be the same. If we push those aside, and now let's just look at that referee whose job is to say, the mountain is here,
Mm-hmm.
the sun is rising, and there is probably an asymmetry of information as well. That person
Mm-hmm.
also knows that the kobolds, and I know we are talking about real kobolds, mythic, right?
Yes.
Kobolds, yes. That the kobolds are now moving restlessly under the earth over here in this spot where the guy was murdered, or something like that, right? Some shit like that. Right? All the good stuff. um, or also things like the now that you have achieved your glory to a certain extent, the chance for uh, the you know that the beauteous Elizabeth, right, daughter of the worst knight in the country, but a good person, you know she
Mhm.
is interested in you, if only you had a little bit more glory, right? So right, but so
Yes.
who's in charge of this shit? Who says these things? Well, I'm talking about that person.
Mhm.
And so this and also we'll be playing these characters. And in many cases starting and stopping scenes and stuff like that. Or they say we turn left at this path in the forest and they know what's to the left. So
Mhm.
that's the person I'm talking about. And putting aside that business about trying to control the story, this person isn't neutral either. Their own aesthetics, their own sense of whether the kobold is enraged or not. There may be some rules and things and roles, some dice to influence to constrain what they can say, but they're not constrained in everything. They respond to the dice effects just like a player does. When the player rolls to hit, the player has a response about their reaction to this. Their own
Yes.
responses are involved. So this person is not automated. They are subject to constraints and the constraints of their own preparation. For example, there is a point of honor here, or rather, a responsibility for their job that they do have this map and there's the thing on it. They are not going to suddenly add 5 kobolds because they feel like it, right? So that's that control
Yeah.
crap I'm talking about. So they are not doing that. So, given that they are not doing that, and they do have roles and constraints of different kinds, conceptual and procedural constraints, I mean, they have to roll to hit too, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but their response in that context is no more neutral than a player is. Does that make any sense? Yeah,
Yes, that does make sense.
fantastic. Does that help with the whole neutral conundrum, the neutral question?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think it does.
Mm-hmm.
It's still of an issue for me because I'm trying to be very scrupulous about this not being in control.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sometimes a bit timid in going with my intuition and would rather try to do a die roll, which of course I'm still deciding on the
Right.
probabilities and calling
Right.
for a roll and so on.
Roles, of course, are wonderful. I love constraints, but the fear that, or rather the danger, is then to make an automated widget, right? Where you are just basically, you might as well not be there. You might as well just give them a book with roles to play against. So besides, what's the point of having these kobolds and witches and cauldrons and uh, twisted tangles of black oak?
Mm-hmm.
What is the point of that unless I get to play it? I mean, I came here for a reason. I want to play those things. So, with this in mind, it I think leads to remembering that part of not being in control is also that you do get to enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I also recommend, uh, when and if you have the chance, if you look at the Whispering Vault game, the rules are quite savage. If all you do is keep applying them at their hardest at every point, the NPC is unreasonable. The situation
Mm-hmm.
is untouchable. And the games, I mean, in particular, the Whispering Vault is very much like Champions, early Champions, and Sorcerer. There are lots, it says all through, The game master just add a die, give the player a bonus die, give the player a +1 when, if it's moving, right? If play is moving, if the response is, it's a very symbolic game. You do this thing. It's like, fuck the visuals. Oh, bonus die, get another die of damage, right? Just do it. I'm liking this, right? You're just throwing things in. You're not even thinking about like whether it makes things easy or harder or anything. You're just
Mhm.
you're just doing this because the medium is fun. You are just pouring things into the medium as we enrich it. Would it be better if there was like a table of bonuses that we're supposed to get?
Yeah, I mean, this is these are
When
skills
and
I
then you
definitely.
start, yeah, then you
Yeah.
start applying those bonuses mechanically, and they are limp, and and pro forma. Somebody says,
Hmm.
oh, look, I did the dialogue, I get my +1, and you're like, how crap that is, right? Play your
That is.
character to get a bonus. Fuck you, right? That's terrible. So, you're begging, you're pleading, oh, can I get a bonus? Come on. So if we are just enjoying it and throwing in the bonuses as just part of enjoying it,
Hmm.
that's very different. So that's what I mean by the non-neutrality. As in that particular game, it's very explicit because of the subjective and personal responsibility you are taking, right? You have to be honestly enjoying it to do it. You have to be authentic. The game will suck if you aren't.
Hmm.
So,
And we
in
need to trust the others as well to take responsibility. Give it
let's,
back to them. Do you really think
yeah,
you deserve that bonus if necessary?
yeah,
Um,
and also it, or maybe not even deserve. Just I liked that, and the person's like,
hmm.
I'm getting a bonus for that, and it's like, that's not your problem, man. I liked it,
Hmm.
right? And so
Yes.
and so when you bring it back to trust, you're right. But let's dial that back and make it a primary requirement of play in the first place.
Hmm.
Even if it's a group of people that you're sitting down to at a convention, it can still be an expectation. You're like, look, we're not, we are here to do this. I only want to play with people who do this. And that's one reason why I would say never play at conventions, except that when I do with that attitude, people often respond very positively. They can do it. So
Hmm.
therefore, I don't write off just these convention based, anonymous, everybody sit down and just play, because people are better than role playing culture thinks a lot of the time. So it is, in my opinion, that we have enough agreement between us in the conversation to say, okay, this is the non-neutrality, which is positive. You are playing at the table with your constraints and your jobs. You have jobs.